few weeks ago, I made the, I thought, uncontroversial observation that condoms are kind of gay.
The conclusion that one draws is that condoms are kind of gay.
The hosts of the Young Turks apparently took issue with my clear as day observation.
No, you frickin'
I don't know.
bozo.
I am going to examine their refutation of my point. And producer Ben Davies has issued me a challenge, which is to try not to laugh at Cenk Uygur for as long as possible. So without further ado, take it away.
Condoms are kind of gay. That's the expert commentary that you can hear by Michael Knowles. I don't know how to respond to that. Maybe we need to hear more, but first some more context. So in order to understand what could have possibly led to him making that statement, we'll have to watch him whine about fringe culture war nonsense, so stay tuned for that.
It's terrible for me to whine about fringe culture war nonsense, but it's very, very important for them to whine about me whining about the supposedly fringe culture war nonsense. Something doesn't add up here. Keep going.
I think a lot of people are beginning to notice the contraceptive mentality is the beginning of the pride mentality.
It's a great point.
Because the contraceptive mentality divorces sex from the consequences of sex, which is exactly what gave us the pride movement. There's no distinction here. People are beginning to realize, okay, if I don't like this insane anarchistic view of sex that is totally self-centered and divorced from any ends, well, then maybe I got to rewind it and ask, well, what is the point of sex?
I mean, I can just quickly answer one of the main questions he had there about like, why engage in this narcissistic act if you're not trying to procreate? Pleasure. I'm not a religious person. However, if I were a religious person, I would thank the Lord, okay, for giving us the physical capability. I know not all of us, and thoughts and prayers for those folks, but generally speaking, the physical capability to experience sexual pleasure.
Sex is pleasurable. Yes, that's one of the main things that draws us to it. And that's good. I'm not denying any of that. That's obviously a point of it. Just like pleasure is a point of eating a big hamburger. It's not the point of eating the hamburger, though. It's an ancillary feature. It's rather nice. I'm glad it's one of the allurements of eating a hamburger. But the point of eating the hamburger is to nourish me and to sustain me so that I can go about my life and pursue my other higher purposes. If I divorced the purpose of the hamburger from the pleasure, what would I do? Well, I'd probably stuff my face with a lot of different hamburgers. And then I'd probably go vomit up those hamburgers because I don't really want the calories. I just want the pleasure of the taste. As our culture has divorced the pleasure of sex from the end of sex, which is procreation, we've got a declining birth rate, so a dying population. We've got people putting off marriage. We've got people getting divorced at much higher rates. We've got a lot of social breakdown. It's made men kind of weak and it's made us all very selfish. It's not very good. That's not to say sex is bad, but it's to say that divorcing things from their purpose does not end well.
So look, there's two core issues here. That's a massive difference between the right wing and the left wing. And this clarifies things and why I think no rational person could be a right winger. So there, I said it, catch feelings. So number one.
I guess I lost. That caught me by surprise because I said, okay, I'm not going to laugh. But then what made me laugh was not some bombastic comment from Cenk. It was the suggestion that his statement were somehow bold. He said,
I don't think a rational person could ever be conservative. There, I said it. That's right. Most people don't have the courage to say such an uncommon expression as that.
But I said it. And that's what got me. Okay, it didn't last very long. Keep going.
He is saying the only sex that should be allowed, presumably, is
it's not quite what I said.
The purpose of procreating and creating children. To which
put a pause there. You see, this is where he slips in the little trick because he says, well, presumably what he's saying is that every other kind of sex shouldn't be allowed. My only point was that the sterile sexual ethic is not good.
What if I want to have sex before I get married?
I guess you just have to be prepared to die.
The sexual revolution broadly is responsible for that. You really think this is what sex is for? You really think this is good? Have the consequences of this really been good? Nobody would answer yes.
It's such an absurd point. No one in America believes it. Only these radical lunatics believe it.
Does this guy realize how out of touch he is with the vast majority of people who have ever lived? Sex has a point and ought to be ordered toward that point, which is procreation. You realize how crazy you said? No, man, most people agree with that. Even if today we live in a particularly bizarre liberal moment, statistically 100% of people for all of human history have believed what I believe, roughly, about sex.
Only these radical lunatics believe it. He does it because I'm gonna get attention. Matt Walsh has the anti-trans niche covered and he got really famous off of that. I wanna be famous too. I'll be the dumbest one. I'm against all contraception. I think condoms are gay. And you know what? Unfortunately, in this media ecosystem, that works. That's why they do it. Look, we're covering it. Hey, look at how dumb this guy is. And a lot of right-wingers are going, well, yeah, the stereosexual thing, I think I don't want that. And yeah, I don't like gay people. And the condoms bother me. I think he's right. And he's going to convince like 2 to 3% of people.
Like,
Okay,
I don't even think that.
Pretty good.
I think you're being far too generous to Michael Knowles and thinking that argument would even convince 2 to 3% of Republican voters to like turn on contraceptives like condoms. Come on.
Just put a pause here. This is crazy, radical. Who's that going to convince? This is the official doctrinal teaching of the Catholic Church forever. There are a lot of Catholics out there. There are a lot of Catholics in America. There are a lot more than 2 or 3% of the country. A lot of Catholics around the world. I'm like basically just reading out of the catechism, okay? If I wanted to get attention, I'd put on a soft shoe and wear a sequined blazer. I'm not doing that. I'm just reading basic elements of traditional sexual ethics.
And look, you want to go up against 99% of women who actually use it, even if some of them answer in a poll, oh yeah, maybe we should ban it. I mean, I used it earlier in my life and I'd like to be a hypocrite now, or whatever reason, or I use it, but I'm evil because Michael Knowles said I'm evil because
Put a pause there. When did I ever say anyone is evil for committing a sin? When did I say that?
That's not true! So get your facts straight.
He's putting it in quotes even. I never said that. I don't think I used the word evil anywhere in my monologue. The other thing he's wrong about is he says 99% of women use contraception. That's obviously not true. Half of women have gone through menopause already, right? At least. You think those women are on birth control? So it's a relatively small number of women. And then some of them at some point have used contraception. And a lot of those women have turned against it. I mean, this is a major movement right now. Forget about even conservatives and religious people. Just ordinary kind of crunchy liberal women who say, maybe there's something wrong and something not so wise about pumping my body full of unnatural hormones simply so that I can be used for the sexual pleasure of random men who don't want to commit to me. Yeah, maybe that's not such a great idea. It's not just us conservatives who are pointing that out, guys. Right now, go to genucel.com/KnowlesYT. Everyone here at the office loves the Genucel Dark Spot Corrector. You might be asking what this product even does. Well, if you've got sunspots, dark spots, discoloration, or dry skin, the Genucel Dark Spot Corrector will help those blemishes disappear in front of your very eyes. Kimberly from Youngstown, Ohio says, my appearance has improved so much since using Genucel. I love all my Genucel products and my skin looks younger. Now it's your turn to feel like Kimberly, but hurry! This sale is ending very soon. Take advantage of Genucel's most popular package, which includes the beloved Dark Spot Corrector. This package also includes the Genucel Classic Under Eye Treatment. You will get all these products for almost 70% off. Genucel is so confident in their products that you can try them for yourself completely risk-free. If you don't see immediate results, you will get your money back. It's very simple. Go to genucel.com/KnowlesYT. Start looking years, even decades younger tomorrow. Say goodbye to dark and liver spots, bags, and puffiness under the eyes. Crow's feet at genucel.com/Knowles, letter Y, letter T, genucel.com/KnowlesYT.
Michael Knowles said I'm evil because I have anarchistic sex. Okay.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, by the way, that doesn't sound too bad. I mean,
I like sex with lots and lots of rules and regulations.
And only for procreation. And but by the way, now, seriously, about these 25...
Actually, rules are sometimes important.
There we go. Put a pause. There it is. See, lady, you're making fun of me. You're making fun of me because you're using talking points from 1990s, I am woman, hear me roar feminism nonsense. But we ain't living in the 90s anymore, honey. We're living in the Me Too era. We're living in the Time's Up era. We're living in the era where we've seen the consequences of the sexual revolution that the conservatives had been warning about the whole time, but the liberals are observing it now too. And so even as she's making fun of me for saying sex should not be anarchistic, but should actually have some rule and order to it, even as she's making fun of me, then after the laugh line, she says, well, actually though, he's right, obviously. But what a fuddy-duddy.
Yeah, like, depending on what games you're playing. Anyways.
Oh, good. Cenk admits it too. Good, glad. Can we end the video there then, folks? Because after this whole windup of this ad hominem, these straw man arguments, this Knowles is a moron, this he's seeking attention, this is crazy, this is fringe, this is extreme. They both admit that I am completely right. At least on the point that sex should not be totally anarchistic, that actually there are rules, there is order. So then the logical next question is, well, what's the whole thing ordered toward? And they probably don't want to state that explicitly, but it is implied by the point that they've already conceded.
Let's actually look at the current polling. Let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah, because
then I've got more.
Data for Progress put out a poll in October of 2022 asking, would you be more likely or less likely to vote for a candidate for Congress who opposes protecting the right to contraception under federal law? So that is a broader question, not only having to do with condoms, but also birth control. Let's look at Republicans, right? 40% say they are less likely to vote for someone who wants to ban birth control. Only 25% say more likely.
But now, Anna, we're kidding around about 2 or 3%, but there it is. 25% of Republicans say ban it. By the way, 35% aren't sure.
I know, but this is a very broad question pertaining to
exactly. Hold on, what it was there. You're right. It's extremely broad, so you'd expect the numbers to be much smaller. I'm not saying Republicans need to go campaigning on we're going to ban all these things. All I am articulating is the perfectly normal and obviously true moral point that sex is ordered toward procreation.
Congratulations, Reg. It's a squid.
And you can extrapolate from that, as all political societies do, but don't put the words in my mouth that I'm saying that every member of Congress needs to go campaign against condoms or something like that. That's your own imagination.
If push came to shove, we think obviously they're not actually going to try to. Even a majority of the Republican voters are going to be like, no, don't ban contraception. That's nuts, right? And obviously everyone else thinks it's the craziest thing in the world. Although, as you see in the poll, 9% of Democrats are like, maybe. Like what?
Yeah.
Like 9% say yes. Much more likely.
Put a pause. I thought he was going to be arguing against my point in this video, but they keep, they've got locked and loaded their talking points to knock down my point. But they say, but actually, a lot of Republicans actually do think that contraception's maybe not the best thing ever. Well, but they're those crazy Republicans because they're conservative, and that makes sense that conservatives are conservative. But the Democrats, though, they're going to, almost 1 in 10 Democrats agrees with Knowles. Well, okay, that's great. Keep going, guys. You're going to be making my argument for me better than I did.
In the great majority of the country's bubble, we're like, yeah, this is the year 2023. We believe in freedom and people can have sex for whatever reason they want. Why are we judging their sex life? Oh, that one was too much fun. That one wasn't, can we judge whether it wasn't fun enough? No, you have to only do it for the reasons Michael Knowles wants. So the great majority of the country thinks these guys are lunatics, okay?
Ironic.
But there is a religious contingent in this country, including some Democrats, who go, no, the sex should be done by my rules. And my rules say only for procreation.
Put a pause there. It's not my rules. It's God's rules, first of all. And I'm not saying that that's the only point at all. It's the ultimate point. It's what sex is ordered toward. But it's not my rules. It's God's rules. And even if you don't believe in God for some reason, at the very least, you would have to admit that is our civilization's rules for 2,000 years.
Yeah, it's kind of what we do here.
My position is, I think probably our civilization pretty much kind of had it right. They weren't completely off base when they had a consistent sexual ethic for millennia. Maybe we shouldn't just upend the whole thing overnight, because there might be some negative consequences to that some of us can foresee and others of us cannot, but which are there nonetheless.
So by the way, if you're married and you only want to have 3 kids, I guess that means, okay, enjoy the 3 times you have sex in your life. Because you can't have sex before, You're only using it for procreation. You can't use contraception. So you want 3 kids, 3 times you get that.
Pause there. First of all, Cenk seems to think that you knock a lady up every single time you do the deed, and that is generally not the case. But 2, there are non-artificial contraceptive means of measuring exactly when a lady is likely to be fertile, which I'm not necessarily recommending. I think it's good to be open to life, but in a grave circumstance, if one wanted to do that, they are extremely effective. And they're mocked, these methods, but they're extremely scientifically advanced, much more scientifically advanced and sophisticated than, pulling a rubber out of a box from the gas station.
All right. No, not all right.
Anyway, keep going.
Again, the great majority of the country thinks lunatics. Mm-hmm. But there is a conservative religious element that goes, sounds right to me. They're not actually gonna do it. They don't practice it. They're giant, enormous, overwhelming hypocrites. All of them use contraception.
Put a pause right there, because now he's making an accusation about something that is just manifestly not true. At the recording of this video, I have one child who is 1 year old. I have one child who's 2.5 years old. I promise you, I am not a hypocrite on this issue. What's so telling about that commentary there is Cenk, I think sincerely, doesn't believe it's possible that people could just be open to life, that people could actually just want to have children, not want to divorce the pleasure of sex from the point of sex, would not want to, go buy a box of rubbers from a convenience store.
All of them use contraception, and none of them actually believe this, but they go, yeah, we should. We should ban other people from having fun sex. All right. Sex for just fun? No, okay? All right, if you're in that group, yeah, you're likely a right-winger and you're probably nuts. And we're gonna fight you and we're gonna win. So have at it.
No one's gonna try to ban condoms. It's just not gonna happen. Like, it's the most ridiculous thing ever.
They've driven down support for gay marriage by 7 points and it keeps going down.
Put a pause there. That's not true. We've driven down support for same-sex relations, period, by 7 percentage points in just a couple of years, I think it was, according to Pew. And it's not we who drove it down, also. It's reality. It's the reality of the culmination of the sexual revolution that has done that. I suspect Drag Queen Story Hour had a lot more to do with that. I suspect the bizarre pride parades. I suspect the indoctrination in the elementary school classrooms had a lot more to do with the decline, the precipitous decline in support for the weird sexual revolution type stuff.
These guys batter and batter and batter and batter. So yeah, they're not gonna win on this issue. But they're gonna keep going and they're gonna try to convince religious people, your religion should rule everyone. Okay, and sorry, I don't agree.
Put a pause there. Unlike Mr. Cenk Uygur over here, who believes that his religion should rule everyone. His religion of liberalism and decadence and decay. Well, that has been ruling everyone for a number of decades now. And the consequences have been completely disastrous, measured in pretty much any way. Support for our institutions, patriotism, hope for the future, self-reported levels of happiness, marriage, family formation, birth rates. It's just every measure of a nation's success, other than material financial success, sometimes. So maybe we ought to try a different religious view, since Cenk's has not been very successful.
Sorry, I don't agree, and I'm gonna fight you 2,000%. And so, okay, and by the way, Michael Knowles is a giant liar. What, you never use contraception? No.
I don't use contraception. I don't think I ever said I've never done anything wrong in my life. I was an atheist for 10 years. I was still sort of right-wing, but in that libertarian kind of like not cool way. But I did all sorts of terrible things. Fortunately, on a lot of them, I've ceased to do them, or I've greatly, diminished the amount that I do bad things. And on certain issues, like the one that Cenk and I here are talking about, I completely changed my mind on it and then just got rid of it. Which is great to do, especially when you're married. It makes it a lot easier to do that. Even so, even if one were to sin, let's say a married person did use contraception for whatever reason. If you have a standard and then you fall short of that standard and you regret that, that's not hypocrisy. That's called sin, which is a fact of human life. That's called being human. And we, mean old religious people, are quite in favor of grace and forgiveness and forgiving other people their debts as we wish our sins to be forgiven by God. So that's not hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is when you pretend to hold one view and then you behave in a way that's contrary to that view. But no, even at the end there, he can't believe that anybody would not use contraception.
No, you frickin'
I don't know.
Bozo. Okay, he was in a movie where he's having gay sex and etc.
Put a pause there. That's not true. I was in this undergraduate thesis movie at Yale, but it wasn't gay. My character was bisexual.
I see a lot of girls. I see a lot of guys too.
But anyway, look, to Cenk's point, in my acting career, brief though it was, I've played hundreds of roles. I've played, I don't know, like 2 or 3 kind of more effeminate type, like wimpy type of guys. But I've played soldiers, all right? I played the devil once, although I guess South Park depicts him as kind of gay.
There's my cream puff.
Or him.
That's my buddy.
But you play one bisexual character in one Yale undergraduate thesis film. That's all you're ever known for as an actor. At least, I will say, at least people are talking about my acting work. Most actors never, their work never really sees the light of day. So I'm glad that Cenk has enjoyed it.
This guy, back when he was trying to be an actor and trying to be famous, he was like, yeah, gay sex and contraception and wild sex, I'm here for it. Yeah. And now that he's a loser, total failure in life, and he couldn't be famous with that, now he's like, I think condoms are bad. I think sex is bad because I'm not.
Put a pause there. I guess I need to teach Cenk one more thing, which is when you go to see a movie or a play or a TV show, you'll see people on screen and they'll say things. And they'll do things. And they'll move around, they kind of wear costumes. But those costumes are not necessarily those people's real clothing. And the things they say are not necessarily the things that those people actually believe. And like the names that they're referred to sometimes in the play or the movie or the TV show, they're not the names of the real people because they're doing something called acting.
So I mean, it's like, no, it's bad, only for procreation. I'm gonna rule all of your lives with my BS, totally made up, totally hypocritical principles. Okay, Michael, I got it. You got slightly famous by saying something totally and utterly asinine. In this case, I want you to keep saying it because I want Republicans to lose all elections by being radical morons like you.
I do applaud you for being as passionate in protection of condoms, like the only man in the country who feels this passionately about protecting condoms.
Well, good on her, man. I really get a kick out of her because after Cenk's kind of diatribe, which is mostly just ad hominem invective, she comes in and totally guts his argument.
Got some bad news for you. You're done, son. It's over.
Because she says, wow, Cenk, you really get passionate about condoms. That's good for you. That's good to be passionate about something that's so important. If you're getting really fired up in defense of little pieces of plastic to have meaningless sex so you don't have any children and you remain sterile, something's gone wrong in your life, and certainly something's gone wrong in your mind, and you should correct it. I hope that I've been able to correct some of that in this brief instruction.
Yeah, I don't like gay people.